Welcome to another episode of Auto Spec Renew. Today we are in sunny California, as you can tell, meeting with Kyle and his fantastic 53 Jeep that he converted with a Model 3 drivetrain. So let's check it out. Kyle, good to meet you. Thank you for having us. So we saw the 53 at SEMA. It was featured on the special area with all the fantastic converted to EV classic car. How did you bring it over there at SEMA and then tell us everything about this fantastic project?
Yeah, so it was kind of cool to take it to SEMA. My family's been going to SEMA for 20 years.
Wow.
They own a component business that makes mostly drag race parts.
Okay.
So they've been going there with the drag race business for like 20 years. And so all the companies that go there, it's pretty easy to get a car in. So that I was given the opportunity to kind of take their spot this year and have the car there. And it was really cool. It was the first year we'd had a car there.
So you brought the electric concept into your family then? You're the first one to bring an electric car into the business?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're very, my family's very traditional, like big block Chevy, like very fast drag cars, which I love, like fast drag cars.
We all love them. And this originally couldn't be further from a big V8 car. It was like a small 4-cylinder engine, and you completely converted it. Yeah. So let's go back. How did you get the Jeep, and then what brought you into this project?
Yeah, so my grandpa had this car. It's been in the family for about 20 years. He got it from like his cousin or something like that. He bought it for real cheap. It was sitting in his yard for about a few years, and so it was pretty rough.
Okay.
And then he had like a bunch of cars in his yard, and he started giving one car to each grandkid. Yeah. And so I was the first kid to actually take the car out of his yard. So I think the other cars are still sitting there.
That's a good grandpa.
So the first thing I did was like completely tear it apart and like sandblasted it. And then the parts ended up sitting on a shelf for like almost 6 or 7 years because I just ran out of time. I was going to put a small block Chevy in it at that time. I wanted to convert it to a small block Chevy.
So it was not your first car project. You had done plenty of other ones.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up around drag cars. So like when I was like 10, like my dad kind of helped us build a drag car, like a junior dragster.
Yeah.
And we were always working on cars. A lot of times they were other people's cars. We were on an off-road team when we were in high school. We were always helping my dad with his drag cars and always fixing our old cars.
So how do you go from the drag strip to off-road with an electric drivetrain?
So it was kind of an interesting story. So in college I studied physics. So I was kind of interested in the science concepts and stuff like that. And then kind of pursued my profession for a while, and then I ended up working at an electric airplane company, and then being around people that were passionate about electric vehicles, during COVID I decided I'm going to take that off the shelf and like start working on it again, and I was going to put the V8 in it like I was when it got put on the shelf, and a coworker, because everyone's like kind of fanatics about electric cars where I work. They were like, "Oh, you should put an electric motor in it." And so it started as a joke, but
well, here we are. Take us through the drivetrain and why you choose certain components over other ones.
Okay, so it's got a Tesla Model 3 motor in the middle. So it's basically Tesla Model 3 drive unit, and then right to the solid axles. The solid axles are out of a 1975 Jeep Wagoneer.
Okay.
And I modified them, cut them down to fit. So it's like real heavy duty Dana 44s. That was something I wanted on the Jeep because like the Danas are such like classic Jeep.
But what I like is you made it bulletproof, but you didn't make it a huge Jeep, with huge wheels. So it keeps the original aspect of the Jeep, but it's much more powerful and gives you way more torque now.
Yeah, that was kind of a goal. Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned the torque with the gearing. The gearing is like ridiculous, like because it's got the 9-to-1 gearing in the drive unit.
So I really like you kept the original gearing on the Tesla drive unit. Did you do any modification to the Tesla motor?
So yeah, it's got the original gears. The only modification I did to the drive unit was I swapped it out for the Felton limited slip differential, and so that gives me better traction since it's going to the front and rear axle.
Perfect. The suspension you upgrade also?
Yeah, so it's got, these are the leaf springs. They're much thicker and wider and more stout than the original leaf springs. They're sort of like a 94 like YJ Jeep.
Okay.
So a lot more robust than the 50s springs.
Let's talk about the battery pack and the weight distribution of the car.
Okay.
Where's the battery pack?
So the battery pack's like right in the middle.
Nice. Okay. Wow.
So it's just the Volt battery pack. I took the whole box and everything. We were gonna break it up into modules like a lot of people do and put it in the engine compartment. And
But it just fits.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I really like, it's a weatherproof box.
Yeah.
It's,
Why reinvent it when you have it straight out of the box? And it looks almost factory, to be fair. Yeah. So what type of seats did you have to use just to make it fit?
So these are out of a smart car, out of a Mercedes smart car. And there was so much work to get the seats to fit. It's funny because it's an electric Jeep, but like one of the things I spent the most time on was getting these stupid seats to fit.
All right. Obviously, the steering wheel comes from a Tesla. And what about the steering column?
I think it's like an aftermarket one out of like a Chevy, like mid-'80s Chevy.
Wow. Now, let's see what's under the hood.
All right.
Well, there's nothing much under the hood.
Before I put the roll cage on it, I weighed it, and the corner weights were like almost perfect. So that was one nice thing, because the drive unit's right in the middle, and then the battery, is pretty much centered too.
Yeah.
So the corner weights are pretty ideal on this car. But then there's a bunch of room up here. I have an ARB air compressor.
Okay.
That's because it has a full locker in the back, an ARB selectable locker in the rear differential. So that's mostly just to trigger the rear differential. And then I have an Elcon charger. Behind here is just the bulkhead, just the Chevy Volt bulkhead. So I used all the same contactors and everything in that bulkhead. And so the HV wires and the cooling lines are just going right into that bulkhead.
And did you install and program the VCU?
Yeah, so it's just using a T2C VCU, and then the BMS is Orion.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you learn how to do this from scratch?
So the big thing was one of the big sources of information was the DIY electric car forum. Like I was on there like almost every hour. My wife told me to stop looking at the website so much. So that was a good source. Like that was one reason why I knew you could pair the Chevy Volt battery with the
Model 3 motor.
Yeah. And then a lot of it too, like if I had a question, I just would bug people till they
That's what's fantastic about the forum, and it's very active still. Yeah, that's quite good. So did you tune down the motor, or did you keep it around 200 kilowatt?
So it should be pretty much full open right now. I can change it with a slider. If I'm testing something new or something like that, I might detune it a little bit. But typically it's pretty full open. I think the battery will support it pretty good. We took it to the drag strip last summer, and I'll have to review the numbers off the top of my head, but it puts out pretty good power. Before I pull continuous amperage, I need to probably change a couple of things in the battery because it has a 420 amp fuse. But typically I've only been pulling decent power for very short
time. Yeah. You're not taking this to the drag strip then?
I took it over the summer, but just but the other thing is the way I did the gearing. It only tops out at 55 miles an hour.
Okay, all right.
And so
but it goes there quick.
Yeah. I think so. One thing I want to experiment more with too is I'm convinced there's something controlling the ramp rate of the motor, because the car's so light and the gearing's so high, it's going from 0 RPM to 15,000 RPM pretty fast, probably faster than it would in a original Model 3. So sometimes when it's off the line and stuff, it doesn't behave like you would expect it to behave. It almost acts like it's slowing itself down or something like that.
Okay.
So I need to kind of experiment with that more.
It, yeah. Anything else we haven't covered in the engine bay? Just the cooling system.
Cooling systems, charger. I have an eye booster, Bosch eye booster. Don't forget a shovel.
All right, the very good thing also with your solution is you still have plenty of room in the back, and you install, I imagine it's the BMS on top of the battery?
Yeah, it's a Orion BMS2.
Okay. But going back to what I was asking earlier about training, did you just decided you would do a conversion, or how did you, I mean, some people are afraid to try it, and then you just go on and do your first conversion like this?
So I was also working in an electric airplane company. So there was people around, and like I had been around high voltage, so that kind of helped, and I'd been around kind of a system that had been high voltage before, so I was a little bit more comfortable, and I had seen people work with it.
Okay, all right, that explains it. Yeah. All right. Another thing I really like about your solution is you kept everything manual with metal buttons, so it looks fantastic. I know you have a screen, but you don't have it all the time.
Yeah, we tried to keep it like looking somewhat appropriate for a Jeep, like an old Army Jeep.
And is it all waterproof and weatherproof? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, let's go drive it in the rain.
Yeah. So, did you take these to off-road events then?
Yeah, definitely. That was kind of like what like forced us to get this thing done. Like our mission was to take it to Jeep Easter Safari last year in Moab, and I got married the month before, and so like I had to like take it to paint right before I got married. Like the week of my wedding, I was taking this thing to paint, and then
as you do,
and I'm still married a year later. And then right after I got back from honeymoon, I picked it up from paint, and then we had to put it back together in like 8 days before Moab.
Okay.
And so we put this thing back together, and like we literally had it together for like 40 minutes, and we loaded it up in the trailer, and we took it to Moab, and it worked pretty good. Like we drove it around, and drove it in town one day, and then we took it out a little bit on some of the trails. There's some kind of cool, and the trails out there I think really good for EVs because it's like real rock, real kind of like climby type stuff, and I think it's perfect for that really smooth torque, and I think it's pretty good. It doesn't take too much power because it's not that soft as sand and stuff for a lot of the trails.
So it looks like you've redone the roll cage and also the suspension. They have traction arms. Did you do all the work also?
Yeah, so the roll cage, I put it together, and it was a kit from Jinrite for the CJ7.
Nice.
But this is like more like a CJ5, so I had to cut it down a little bit, and then I kind of put it together, got everything to fit, and then my friend who's a professional welder did all the welds, so it looked nice.
And you also built the whole suspension. Did you use aftermarket parts? Did you design it all on your own?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. A lot of the pieces came from different Jeep vendors, like as far as like the links and everything, the shackles and everything. They have Bilstein shocks on it. The springs are off of Craigslist. It's just off of some guy that was sold off of YJ. Yeah. The traction bar I made myself, just out of different pieces. So the fabrication, I think that's one thing I really like about this project is like a lot of the fabrication, which was what we're very comfortable with coming from the drag race world. And I think like a lot of people trying to get into EVs or EV conversions, like maybe they're not quite comfortable with every aspect of an EV conversion, but there's so many skills that transfer from
the traditional cars. Yeah. But fantastic work. I mean, you've done pretty much everything on it, and it looks like a very exciting Jeep to drive. So let's take off for a spin.
Absolutely.
Try. So what did you use for pedals? Just the Model 3?
Model 3 pedals, yeah. There's like a little rut hidden in here. So
should I?
No, keep going. Oh. Just be careful. Just be aware. Oh, maybe it's over there. I forget where it is, but.
Yeah, I understand why you took this to Moab. It's a fantastic machine.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I'm always eager to have other people drive it. Yeah.
When are you taking it to Moab or any other place?
So I took it to Anza-Borrego. We have a really nice desert, like maybe 2 hours away from here.
Okay.
So that one's like definitely more convenient because it takes us like 12 hours to get to Moab from here. So I'll probably go to Anza again in the near future, just because Moab requires a lot more effort. I just had a kid, so I have a 1 month old at home, so it'll probably be another year before I can get away to Moab.
It's nice. It's just wet, but it's not muddy. So yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I was worried that it'd be super slippery.
So yeah, it must be fantastic on very dry terrain, but it does very good on wet terrain also.
Yeah, on Moab it felt really
Yeah.
natural. That was before we even had the locker in it and stuff.
Did you consider finding a way to have it rear-wheel drive only, or?
I've been thinking about that. We're actually in the process of making a spool for it right now, so that it'll sometimes, like when we took it when we were getting ready for the drag races and stuff. So it works really good with the center limited slip differential until one of the front wheels comes off the ground. Once the wheel loses, as long as it has a little bit of traction, it's okay. But once it comes off the ground,
It's just lost, yeah. Oh, I'll do this again. You've never done this yourself on the wets?
I don't know about the wet dirt. Usually I don't drive it too much when it's wet out, but I've tried to do donuts with it before.
Okay.
And it's pretty challenging to do donuts.
Yeah.
One, because it's got so much body roll, but also because it's got a little bit of lag, you know?
Yeah, I noticed. Oh,
I think maybe, I'm not quite sure why it has all that lag, but I think part of it's because the gearing's so high, you know? Like it's
yeah.
going through so much RPM.
and it limits it.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think.
it does.
The yoke looks cool, but honestly, it's not very functional. You know, it's so much better
But
with
it
the
does
steering
look
wheel.
So that's the Model S one. Or is it an aftermarket one?
Yeah, it's either S or X. I think it's one of those. My brother bought it. I don't know. He bought it. It was an Alpha Wrecked one. He bought it for like $80 off eBay.
Okay, that's very good. So there you have it. Kai's fantastic Jeep. That's a fantastic mix between the Tesla drive unit, the battery pack, and the classic Jeep. You did a fantastic work, Kai. Congratulations. It's awesome. I look forward to seeing this again on the track, maybe Moab or all the other places you take it to. I look forward to seeing it and maybe take it for another spin in a proper off-road location. So guys, thank you so much.
Oh,
all right,
thank you.
guys, if you like what you saw, give us a like, subscribe, and tell us if you want to see more of those 4x4 converted to electric, because I cannot wait to test some more.